It's fine wherever you appreciate it.
Great presentation.
Yeah.
Very relevant.
Oh, it's funny because part of it was actually what I had recorded for my class for their class today.
So you're just going through the motions. It was just you were just yeah.
But
And you were done.
It sort of made me laugh. It's like I thought I just recorded this.
People pay a lot of money for what we just got right there.
Mm-hmm. But no, for me it's exciting because it's something I think every person in business.
No, we don't have to answer.
But it's one of those things where, yeah, you have to stop and think about it. Yeah, that's right. But I mean, it's weird. It's sort of like this weird rite of passage where you go through your education and you don't realize until you're actually out doing what you do. And sometimes that's too late because not everybody is sort of savvy enough to figure that out.
The really, really successful ones, they know it.
Mm-hmm.
They know it. I mean, no matter how technologically advanced we become, business is still inherently about.
Right. Yeah, I mean, one school, it was interesting because we had employers tell us they would rather hire our graduates instead of Chapel Hill or Duke students because they think they get it. It's just sort of the response we used to get from employers is our graduates get it. They may not have the best technical skills, but we can teach them that. Their head's screwed on right. It's usually the response we get from folks. And, there's something to it because I think from meeting with a lot of different parents and stuff, it's something that people I think are striving for. We just don't know that that's what it is.
Exactly. We don't know what we need.
Mm-hmm.
So do you live in Rock Hill?
No, I live in Aiken. I'm like 10 minutes away. Yeah, we got a mic up here. I don't want to lose. Yeah, so I'm from Aiken. I lived in Shaw for a little while. How about yourself?
familiar.
I think when I met you,
We'll
I
see.
had different accents.
I understand.
That's always the plan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's normally I like to have more than 55-minute layovers in Atlanta. But
I did play
either
tennis.
get home
Yeah.
by 4 or get home before noon. So it's the
Yeah. It was John, right? Yeah. Okay.
right, right. So I'll just have to book it.
Well, life moves on.
Hopefully they're in the same terminal.
Not likely.
No, not likely.
Are you
No.
speaking later on?
Not likely, but you never know.
Yeah, as long as I don't have to go from like T to D or something strange, right?
Microphone?
Right.
We'll turn it.
I mean, it's funny. People talk about it like it's awful. And it's one of my favorite airports in terms of just efficiency of transport. Yeah, DFW is awful. Where you have that external tram that goes. No, California.
sitting?
No, I will not be sitting. I will get up.
Okay.
I'll be standing. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So Chip is with Shadow. So no, Chad. Sorry.
She's
So,
like a community.
okay. I was, never sitting down there here. So, all right. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
All right. Erica, Chip Marlin, I heard you earlier.
You see, they're going to find you. They're going to find you. The students will.
I'm easy to find
I know.
when I want to be.
But with our students and our alumni, we always try to keep that door open as much as fits you. That's good. Um, I have.
I've chatted with a lot of folks over the years that have tried to get into our business, and some have,
Well,
some have not.
I have to tell you, it is not for everybody, as you know, and just like
No job is.
just like with anything else, not everybody is made for it. So, we're good at what we are. I'm so happy that you came today, and I hope your session went well. Again, when I saw your slides, I just wanted more of it, and I have another speaker, transitional time.
Yeah, I love that time piece. It's perfect.
My gosh, if we have time, I hope they are going to record these things. It would be so good to have you. One day is just not enough. I'll take it. So tell me, how are you doing?
Good. So, the weather is letting everybody out early
Yeah.
today, and Julianne goes to Wardlaw High School up in
Where's that?
Johnston,
Really?
Edgefield, Johnston. And so
Does she drive? You said she was a
she
new
does,
driver?
she's a new driver, but she doesn't have a driver's license, nor does she have a vehicle. So
Okay.
we came down this morning because I was, she gets out at noon. I'm here. Cheryl knew she was going to be here.
You want Nevin to go and work?
No, she's at home. She never left.
Yeah, that's what I
We
did
just said,
with
just stay
Sarah.
home.
Yeah,
Just,
that's what I
just
did
don't
with
worry
my
about it.
girl.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just stay home. Don't worry about it.
that's what I did with Sarah. Luckily it's a private school. I can afford that.
Well, the rest of Carolyn drives, and then Grant and Sarah, they take the bus. They don't mind the bus. And they get out. They're one of the first stops to home anytime.
Good, good.
Sarah usually does track after she goes to track and cross country.
They canceled everything today.
Grant's got a basketball game tonight. They got canceled. So we're doing basketball, track. Sarah rides horses. Carolyn's playing tennis.
We used to do all the seasonal sports. And then I said, just pick one sport and go. I did. All right, well, good. Well, thanks again, Chip. I really appreciate it. Okay.
Marie, he was kind enough to sit through mine. Everyone stayed over the phone and no one fell asleep.
She's in the bathroom. She just had who knows? Yeah, yeah. I love this dress. I meant to come with it. It's very sharp.
I even undressed my students coordinated I tried to be. And my decorations are right here.
You got going on. It's just not business all the time. It is a little fashion. This is great. Yeah, really, I'm sorry you missed it. Good.
Yeah,
That's
have you
why,
met?
Caroline, that's why I drive Caroline's though.
Hey,
Yes.
Oh,
Hi, I'm Susie Farah.
Hi,
Very nice to
Caroline.
meet
Nice
you.
to meet you
She's
too.
going to be talking about the future of philanthropy.
Awesome.
We talked about your presentation last night at dinner.
Oh, okay.
And Derek said, it's exactly in line what he's
Well, I
doing.
brought the young generation with me.
Perfect.
Yep, and because where I work at our nuclear facility, we have an age gap because we didn't hire for 15 years.
Oh.
So we've got kids, these kids working with their grandparents kind
Right.
of thing. So a lot of my efforts are mentoring, getting them in my previous role in philanthropy for the company. And then now I was moved over with marketing and bringing in the
Right.
tech school kids and things of
Cool.
that nature. So yeah, so it's a big deal. I mean, it's nationwide.
I was gonna say, must be really stressful for the HR manager to figure out how do I deal with the different generations.
Well, we're doing some really neat things. We've got a little group for the young professionals and there's,
Right.
but you know what? It gets an opportunity. It's a vehicle to get everybody
Right.
talking and working together. So
Right.
it's
I
kind of
mean,
exciting.
it helps create that culture you want.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Because we have, a strong safety culture, conduct of box and things
Mhm.
of that nature. Well, good. I'm glad
Cool.
you feel I add
Yeah.
value. But yeah, it's a big issue for us now.
Cool.
Getting that next generation workforce and stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get them in. That crowd out here too. Y'all get in the community
Right.
and start giving back and get involved.
Mhm.
'Cause that's the only way you're really going to grow.
Right.
So,
It ends up paying dividends.
yeah.
Yep.
Well,
Cool.
good. Well, I'm glad
Awesome.
you're having a good.
Yeah.
Actually, we're going to be after lunch, so I'm looking forward.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to your session.
Okay. Well, great. All right.
Cool.
Well, chime in too.
Okay.
'Cause I need all the help I can get.
Absolutely. Hey, I'll, all right. Well, good afternoon. How was lunch? Did we do a good job with the potato salad and chicken this time? All right. Well, thank you again for attending our symposium today. This is our second Aiken Business Leadership Symposium. As we said it this morning, we are very proud to be able to deliver this symposium for our students, our faculty, staff, our community. And we are hoping that this event is going to grow in the future and actually be a platform for idea exchange and learning for everybody in our region and broader. Today we had a privilege to hear Dr. Yunai as our keynote speaker. He delivered a very moving presentation about free entrepreneurship and what does it mean to be philanthropic and human while doing business. So thank you for that, Dr. Yunai. You are definitely an asset to our students and our community today. We are going to continue our program with a panel discussion. And here you have all of our speakers with the exception of the two executives in residence who are dining in another building for now. But they are going to be here for you this afternoon to give the presentations about the challenges in entrepreneurship as well as what does it mean to build a leader. So today I'm going to start our panel discussion really with just revisiting a couple of sessions that not everybody was able to attend this morning. And I am going to start with Mr. Chip Marvin. As we said this morning, Chip Marvin is currently working for Stanley Morgan, and he is our USCA alumni, a devoted alumni of our university, together with several of our alumni who are in audience who helped us actually last year start the program. So if you don't mind, before I actually turn to Chip Marvin, I do want to acknowledge my alumni from last year who came back to actually celebrate with us second year. So if you are in audience, Ms. Andrea Gregory and Mr. Chad Matthews, please get up and let us thank you. Let us thank you for your continuous support of University of South Carolina, Aiken. And with that in mind, again, Chip Marvin, together with Brian Kathonik and Mark Messick, three of our alumni, we will turn to Chip Marvin, and briefly, we would like you to tell us a little bit about challenges that the financial sector, the banking industry, is going to face in the future, and what are you seeing happening in the next 5 to 10 years, please, Chip? Yes, sir. Would you like to come to this one? We'll give you this one.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Portia. Good afternoon. I'm Chip Marvin. I work with Morgan Stanley in Augusta, Georgia. I live in Aiken. I'm a 94 graduate of the School of Business and Finance. Dr. Portia asked me if I would speak today on the future of finance was the topic discussion that I had in the session, panel session. And I'm not going to give you the whole 40-minute presentation right here, but I'll hit some highlights that really I thought Dr. Yanni had kind of pulled back into some of his quotes as well with the humanization of it. So she asked about the future of the next 5 or 10 years. I think one of the biggest things in the future of finance, you have to have a certain level of trust, an engagement of trust. A lot of that has to do with technology and cybersecurity. It's a big topic. There's even courses that are being taught here at the university on cyber technology, and I think it's a very, very important part. Morgan Stanley spent $40 billion last year on technology. About 10% of that was specific to cyber technology to protect our clients' information, fraud protection, fraud prevention, detection, training, and those types of regards. So I think the future, the technology certainly has to be there, but then the rest of my presentation was more about the sustainability of investing. In the future, doesn't matter what industry you are, technology is touching every industry, whether it's healthcare. When we look at I've got a niece on the way, and the 3D or 4D, imaging technology that's in the womb these days is amazing. So the technology is impacting that industry. It's impacting energy. There's new ways, new methods of discovering energy. We're a net exporter of energy as a result of that. So the technology impacts every industry. And in finance, cyber technology and AI types of developments and things like that. But you're never going to get away from the future. When you lean into the future or lead into the future of finance, the sustainability is going to be increasingly more important. People are asking about not just the sustainability of the earth. We think about sustainability in terms of our trees, our water, and things like that, but it's also the human aspect. You have to sustain your human population. Is it do you work at a good place? Is it a good place to work? Is it an inclusive place to work? So there's a lot of sustainability issues that I think are becoming forefront of the conversation right now. And Morgan Stanley, in 2013, we created the Institute for Sustainable Investing, and that helped set the benchmark or parameters or a matrix of how we can start to quantify these sustainability measures, no matter what they are. And that conversation is bleeding into corporate boardrooms these days. People want to know, investors want to know, how are you, Mr. Chairman, no matter what industry you're in, what are you doing to address your sustainability issues, and how can you prove to us, how can you evidence to us why we should invest $100 million with you, $1 billion, $10 billion with you? Why should we invest your money, and what type of sustainability plan do you have? So sustainability reports are increasingly more and more popular. They're almost demanded in a lot of regards, and our clients are starting to demand it as well. So as we lean into the future of finance, technology is going to continue to be an important part of it, but the humanization of it and the sustainability of it, in my opinion, is if you get those parts right, the technology will change, but the sustainability has to advance forward. So that's one of the most pressing things that I see into the future. So thank you.
Thank you, Chip Marvin. And Brian Kathonik also had a presentation, a session on the future of the law. And I'm not sure if your microphone is working, Brian, or not. No, not yet. All right, but Brian, would you care to come just for a brief moment and tell us a little bit about the future of law? Because the theme of our symposium this year is facing the future together and the challenges that we are going to see in different industries. And Brian, being a lawyer in our community and an expert in this field for over, we're not going to say how many years, but many years.
3 years.
3 years.
28 years.
He just graduated from USCA a few years ago. He is going to tell us a little bit about the future of law, the way he sees it. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you. I'm going to just touch on one issue that I talked about in my group. One of the big things that's the future of law is already happening now, but it's going to be more and more, is instead of going to court to handle the resolution of cases, instead, cases are going to be handled outside the courtroom and in the conference room. What I mean by that is there's things in place called alternative dispute resolution, or ADR. And there's two main parts to that. One is something called mediation, and one's called arbitration. Now, for you guys in business, once you get in business, so many business contracts have set in their contracts, no, you guys aren't going to file a lawsuit if you have a dispute. You're going to go through mediation or arbitration. There are ways that you can resolve a case much quicker at much lesser cost. Mediation is when the parties themselves resolve the case. It's basically a negotiation session. I'm a certified mediator, so if you have a dispute, you come to me, and we would sit down at the table, and we may separate out, and I would say, okay, what's important for you? Well, I want A, B, C, and D. I understand that, but what's most important? Okay, well, B is most important. So I go to the other side, and to them, maybe C is most important. And so we work on trying to negotiate the issues to come to an agreement that you may not love, but something you can live with it. So instead of going to court and have a jury decide maybe a very arbitrary decision, you yourself are making the decision and resolving it yourself. Arbitration is a little bit different than that. Arbitration, instead of going to a courtroom, the parties involved pick a third-party arbitrator, usually a lawyer, to hear the case. Those cases can be decided much quicker, at much lesser cost. Sometimes you have a complicated issue, and you need an expert to hear the law, not just 12 people on the jury. So you may pick someone who's an expert in that field to be the arbitrator, because they understand what the issues in that field are. So again, instead of walking over to the courthouse, you come to the conference table. It's much more informal atmosphere. It can be disposed of much quicker. I use the example for my group. When James Brown passed away in Aiken County, I know you young people don't know he's the godfather of soul. He passed away in 2006. They opened his estate in 2007. It didn't get resolved till 2019. So that is, no one got any money for 13 years. And that's ridiculous that would take that long. If you go through mediation or arbitration, you resolve cases much, much quicker. That's already been going on. It became mandatory in South Carolina just 3 years ago, and that's something in the future. So if you have a legal issue, you won't go to a courtroom, you'll go to a conference room. So that's one big thing that you're going to see in the future that's been going on now, but it's going to be used more and more.
Well, thank you, Brian. Definitely something to keep in mind. Hopefully, we are not going to need your services anytime soon. We also hope not to need any services from our friends across the street, Aiken Regional Medical Centers, but we do have a privilege that Dr. Jim O'Laughlin, CEO of Aiken Regional Medical Centers, is here with us today. And if you were not able to attend his session, I am sorry that you missed a fantastic presentation, another fantastic presentation on the future of healthcare industry. So, Dr. O'Laughlin, if you don't mind, just to briefly capture for us the challenges and opportunities in the healthcare system so we know what we can expect in the next 5 to 10 years.
Thank you. There's probably one word that I focused my presentation on, and that was disruption. The healthcare industry has been kind of a legacy environment. It hasn't changed very much. And we are at the precipice of going through dramatic change. And one example I use is the personal transportation business. It wasn't but a few years ago that your choice was a taxi cab. And then we had Uber come in, and they turned taxi cabs all around. And then Lyft. Healthcare is at the precipice of going through dramatic change. We're spending $1 out of every $5 we make in this country on healthcare. And while that may be too much money, we can argue that. One of the things that we do know it will do, it's going to attract some very bright, some very innovative people into the industry. And they're going to find ways to do things faster, less expensive, more convenient. So one of the things I talked about was virtual medicine. My son, being a millennial, expects to be able to access things on his handheld device. He does not expect to schedule appointments and wait to be seen in a physician's office. The other thing about healthcare is there will be jobs, which is important, is that there is a tremendous shortage of healthcare workers in this country, and there will continue to be for the next foreseeable future. We have a very large aging population. All the baby boomers are now turning 65 to 70. And unfortunately, when you get to that age, the data shows that you use healthcare more and more as you get older. And so there's a tremendous need for healthcare workers. The other thing I will just mention in closing is that I think in terms of the future, virtual medicine, artificial intelligence is really going to be significant in terms of making decisions on patient care. We're seeing more and more of that now where we've built artificial intelligence into our system. So we have a computer program that is asking questions. Had you considered this? Have you looked at these types of drug interactions? I think we'll more and more see artificial intelligence, new technology that's really going to move healthcare along at a much faster pace than we've seen in the past decade. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Olafin. I do have to shift our focus just a little bit. We are going to have 4 separate sessions this afternoon, and for those 4 separate sessions, we are going to have a pleasure to hear Ms. Stephanie Franklin, LaDonna Armstrong. Susie Ferrara is going to team up with Caroline Rapid for a presentation on the future of philanthropy, and of course, Mark Masick is going to talk to us about the future of retail business. At this point, I do want us to think about the leadership roles and the roles of mentors in our lives. And today, we really have a unique opportunity to hear Ms. Susie Ferrara and Caroline Rapid tell us a little bit about the future of philanthropy. And the reason why I invited them to be part of our discussion on how to face the future together is, just like Dr. Yunai said this morning, we have to understand the importance of giving back to our communities in order to actually gain even more valuable experiences and benefits in the future from that same community. So, Susie, would you care to tell us a little bit about the role of mentors in your lives, and how do you serve as a mentor to other people? And Caroline, if Susie happens to be your mentor, please come and tell us a little bit about her role. Sure. Susie Ferrara.
That's good.
Go.
Sure. Well, good afternoon, you guys. Everybody having a good time so far this afternoon? Yes, students, yeah? Well, if you don't have a mentor yet, you've got to get one. And it's not hard. Do you know how to go out and get a mentor? Someone give me an idea. It's not hard. You ask. Excellent. And I will tell you, folks, like the folks up on this panel, probably want to be a mentor. Because when you work in an industry for 30, 31, 35 years, you have a lot of knowledge. And like with Caroline and I, when we work together in our assignments, you got to help the next generation get involved. And that's just not on the clock, but it's off the clock. How many of you are natives of Aiken? It's okay, you can raise your hand. I am too. Yeah, Mr. Kantonic is. There's probably a few others out here. You are? That's a good thing. So while you're working in the community, has anybody thought about giving back to the community? Very good. We'll cover that in our session. But I will tell you, I have a mentor in my room right here, a former boss. Your mentors, really, it's a relationship, folks. It's someone you can bounce ideas off. It's someone you're frustrated with. My mentors, I watch, I get certain characteristics. I like how they perform their work. I like how they handle difficult situations. I like how they handle themselves. So it's not just how they write the business or the business plan, it's how they interact with people. I'm a people person, I watch that, and I can learn. Also how I come in and with a business idea, and I think it's just the next thing best to sliced bread, and they look at me and go, you have got to be kidding. And that candid relationship is what you need in business, that you need somebody to say, okay, that's probably not what it is, but you know what, let me help you to a finer way, because everybody knows two heads are better than one, right? Yeah. So really mentors are important to me. I still keep a lot of them, even though they have retired. They really are more than just a mentor. They're a friend. I lean on them. I value their counsel. And even some days I pick up the phone and I go, you didn't tell me about that. When did you get this? So if you, even as a student, if you don't have a mentor right now, I challenge each and every one of you to go find either one of your professors or someone in leadership, because that's what they're here to do. And it will help you along the way, guys, because everybody has their own journey. There's no textbook. It's going to be different for all of you guys, and it's changed for so much for us when we were your age too. So I have a lot of fun mentoring. I was just telling my mentor a little bit a while ago is that where we are and where Mr. Laughlin had talked about different age groups in the workforce, sometimes I have to slow down and realize somebody's new to our team, and you got to take that extra time and bring them along. So if you live in Aiken, my second challenge to you is also get involved in your community, okay? And if you don't know how, come see our session. We can help you out. Caroline?
Good afternoon, everybody. So actually, in February of 2014 it was that I met Susie Ferrara, probably my first day of work because she lived up the hall from me. I don't remember my first day, but I do remember within the first week, Susie had carted me off and taken me to a women in business event just to get me out there to meet other people in the community. And so I think ever since Susie, I've considered a mentor. And when she was talking about, being able to just go into their office and talk about what's on your mind, if you're uncomfortable about something, if something is new, that means you're growing, and that means that you are becoming a leader. Is that feeling of being uncomfortable and you're not always gonna know the way. And so I was fortunate enough to have Susie just up the hall from me to walk me through some of those times. Especially, I found myself in the position of leading the company campaign for United Way back in 2018, and that was something very new to me. And Susie was able to have the years of experience and know how to navigate some of those tougher questions. And how do you reach an audience of 6,000 employees spread across 310 square miles of the Savannah River site? I also think of other mentors that I've been blessed to have in the past 6 years since I've started my career at SRS. One in particular I met at a networking event because that can be a very important place you meet a future mentor, is a networking event. To just keep an open mind and, go up and talk to somebody you don't know, and who knows, you may share a lot in common, and that could be somebody you call on later someday. But that's where I met my mentor, and he was the manager of contract administration for our company. So our interests in our fields were not anything aligned at all. And he was what you would not think of as a manager. He was a parrot head, actually. I mean, just very laid back. His idea probably of a mentoring session would be at the Aiken Brew Company. But what I learned about a valuable lesson through him about mentoring is that it's a two-way street. He would always prepare for our meetings together, and he would expect me to do the same and come prepared with questions, issues, anything, that's timely in that moment. And so it takes both sides to really have an effective mentoring relationship. And then most recently, and so that mentor had to go back to the parent company, and so I had the pleasure to meet my current mentor at a speed networking event that sounds like a speed dating event, but it's for networking, and that's how we were able to hit it off ever since, because I just started in a new field in my job in emergency management, and lo and behold, if the person I'm not sitting across from at the table just spent his last 20 years in the field of emergency management up in Virginia. So you just never know where that's going to take you. And I think that the advice that in summary, what I can remember from some of my mentoring sessions is that, be the very best at the job you have today, whether your job today is being a student and that is your current job until you know, land your first position out in the real world. But do the very best at your job today, kick butt at your job today, because tomorrow's gonna figure itself out. Lloyd Clevenger, who was my mentor, you know, who is no longer in my company, but we still keep in touch. I mean, he was always planning 2 vacations ahead of time, but in his career, he didn't always know where he was going. And you might be, I'm a planner, you might be a planner like me, but you can't overplan things. You just have to do your very best in your job today, and the future will sort itself out. Thank you.
Thank you both, Caroline and Susie. So basically what we have learned so far is, well, number one, you have to be ready for the ever-changing world, whether you're talking about sustainability or your ability to communicate, whether you like A, B, or C, according to Mr. Brancatonic, or whether you are really looking into transitioning from college to work or changing jobs. The mentors are important, and I'm pleased that we are here at the Institution of Higher Education to communicate the importance of mentors to you. But we really don't need to communicate that to you. I think embedded somewhere inside of each one of us is understanding that we do need to rely on each other in order to make the world a better place for us to live. So with the mentorship message, with the message of good, clear communications, adaptability to new technology, as Dr. O'Laughlin was talking about, being aware of the sustainability issues, as Chip was referring to, whether in our environment or our workplace. We hope that all of these presentations are going to be making you better aware of the challenges for the future. Now, because many of you are going to graduate this May, and of course in coming semesters, I do want you to listen to my good friend Stephanie Franklin. She is going to talk to us this afternoon about transitioning from from backpacks to briefcase, and it is a catchy title, is it not? To make that transition, and Susie touched upon that a little bit about generational differences and how you communicate with different age groups. But at the same time, I think what Stephanie's message is going to highlight for us is the importance of our diversity and inclusiveness. And with that introduction, please help me welcome Stephanie Franklin to tell us a little bit about the future in HR and how to transition from being a student to being a member of the labor force.
Good afternoon. So transition, that means you're moving from one thing to another. How many of you are ready to transition? Do I have any college graduates that's coming up in May? Don't be ashamed, raise your hand, yes, no? December? Okay, thank you. Next May, 2021, okay, a little bit more. Yes, so you should start thinking about how are you preparing for this transition from college to your career. And in doing that, there's some preparation that needs to be done beforehand. And so this afternoon, that's what we're going to talk about. What is that preparation? What do your grades look like? Who are you networking with here? Are you utilizing the career services that are available to you? I always find that surprising when I talk to college students. Are you using the career services? A lot of them don't even know where the career service is at the university, which is always surprising to me because it's a resource that's available to you, and it is here to help you to succeed, to help you to transition, to help you build your resume so that you will be marketable and that someone will want to employ you after your parents have spent all this money and invested in you. So take advantage of the services that are available here. and getting prepared for your transition. And then the second thing is that once you have prepared and you have been accepted into that new job, how are you going to perform while you're there? And there are some pitfalls into not performing well. And so I want to challenge you to start thinking about that. If you're unable to attend this afternoon, think about how are you going to perform and how some of your habits that you have now, whether it's I don't want to get up in the morning, you know, where I work, people start work at 4 a.m. And so if you're not a morning person, you have to start thinking about, is that the best job for you? A job that requires you to start work at 4 a.m. And so I want you to start thinking about some of your habits and how do you prepare for your next transition, graduating from college and going into the workforce. So if you have the opportunity, come join me this afternoon. And if not, my information will be available to Dr. Porca, and you can reach out to me after the symposium. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Stephanie. I know one person among all of us here who has transitioned from being USCA student, one of my students on a study abroad program, if I may notice, to labor force. Mark Masick, our speaker for this afternoon, is scheduled to tell us a little bit about the challenges that retail sector is going to face in the future. He has a little story to share with you about traveling overseas with me. All good things, all good things. I forgot him at the airport in Europe. Oops, all right. But you know, he forgave me and he came back to be at panel. So let's give it up for Mark, please. True story, am I right?
Yeah. It's true. She abandoned me in Eastern Europe. So that's the real story of what happened. So thank you, Dr. Portia.
Absolutely.
But no, thank you very much. Thanks everyone here for this event. I think it's a wonderful event. It's the second annual, so it's only going to get better. So thank you, Dr. Portia, and thank you to everyone else. I really want to give credit to her and the business school here for putting this together. And the intent really is that you all would get the opportunity to learn more about some of these topics and get to network with us, and we get to find out who you are, and it's a way for us also to give back to the Aiken community. So thanks again. So my topic this afternoon, I'll be talking about some of the challenges that the retail small business will face in the future. And if I had to sum it up, I would say that the fact that each one of you have the opportunity and the potential to be the next Amazon or to be the next Steve Jobs is something that everyone should think about, because every great company and every competitive advantage starts with an idea. So the advantage that you all will have is the ability to bring that idea to market. And the more you can understand and learn about how you can commercialize or execute on new products, launching new marketing plans, all of those things are going to help you from a small business standpoint, especially when we talk about the retail sector, which so much is determined by the larger Amazons or eBay, and there's a lot of disruption that's happening in the channel on how small businesses get their products to their customers. So hopefully my presentation is useful for everyone, and again, so thank you very much.
We are going to continue by touching on a topic of the future of women in leadership. This is a topic that we visited last year, and Ms. Andrea Gregory, together with Krista Matthews, were our speakers last year. And the topic never really dies. The challenges are there. And the reason why we are focusing is, again, to bring to the light to the issues that we are facing in terms of diversity and inclusiveness again. And the person who is going to talk to us about the challenges of being a woman in business and how to stay connected in the future is going to be Ms. LaDonna Armstrong. Miss LaDonna Armstrong is a person who wears several hats in her life. She is the owner of the Aiken Harry. She is the owner of Bella Magazine. She's going to tell you a little bit about that, and also studio on Lawrence. So, Miss LaDonna Armstrong, please come and tell us a little bit about the future that are facing women in business and entrepreneurship.
Good afternoon. Again, my name is LaDonna Armstrong. I frankly did not know what I was doing here when Sanella asked me to speak. Originally, I was going to speak with Susie on philanthropy, then it was connections in the community. I recently found in October my purpose of connecting. There's a book, the 15 Principles of Conscious Leadership. The first one is, or in there, it describes 3 people. The first one is there's people that things are done to. Then there's things that people are done by. And then there's things that people are done through. That's with, when I purchased Bella Magazine, that's what I wanted my connection to be, is something that went through me. And it has been a phenomenal thing. I'm actually a licensed architect. I so much appreciated Dr. Yanai's talk earlier today about tools. The first thing, literally the first week in architecture school, they said, we're going to teach you all the rules and how to break every single one of them. As a woman in my life and in business, that is a very hard tool to keep trying to put in place over everything. Some things don't need to be broken. Some things need to be cultivated. So a couple years ago, I took that toolbox and set it aside. Those architecture tools no longer suited me. And then the connections came, and it has been phenomenal. What I didn't expect today was to speak about women. And even though I knew that that is what I was asked to do, I didn't really think clearly about what it is to be a woman in business. My daughter came, I have 4 daughters. I would say that they make me more of a woman than anything else in my life has. My 16-year-old is in peer mediation right now, and she sent me, and she goes to Odyssey Baptist Church, I believe it is, and she sent me a Bible verse, and it was Titus 2:1-8, and it basically says, women speak life and identity into people. And I just thought that was profound that she sent that to me last night and this morning through a couple texts. And that's what Bella has been, is being able to tell the stories and speak life. It is a very difficult time to be a woman right now with all the different movements. You know, do we stand on our own? Are we independent? Do we need to be dependent? It ebbs and flows, and I think that as long as we can keep the humanity aspect of it and take it to that basis. Yes, men, they have these traits. Women have theirs, and understand how those work together. You're more successful as a woman. It's not, doesn't need to be a fight. It's an empowering thing, and women are gifted in that. Men are gifted in leadership, and I think women are very gifted in empowerment. So I'll be speaking more about that, and how Bella it will be changing in the future. We're expanding statewide. We'll be 2 magazines next month. It'll be Aiken Bella Magazine and Palmetto Bella Magazine. And there's reasons for this, and I'd be happy to share that with you. And for all you women out there, my greatest piece of advice was to find a women network. People that you can connect with, that you can go to and understand being a woman, so then when you're out there in the world, you don't forget that part of you, because it is a powerful thing. Thank you.
Well, thank Thank you, LaDonna. She is really humbled when she said, I don't know what to say about being a woman in business, and look at all the hats that she is wearing in her personal and professional life. Thank you. You're really an inspiration to many of us. We had the pleasure, indeed, an honor to have Dr. Unai with us today. And I did not joke when I said he fits perfectly within our faculty. So, Dr. Unai, I cannot make any invitations, on behalf of the School of Business and USCA, but you indeed shared the philosophy with our school, with our university, in terms of what needs to be done to educate the future generations. So, Dr. Unai, I would like to close this panel with you, if you don't mind, and if you can please share with us your vision of what should be the future of higher education, what should we be teaching our children today in order to make them better participants, civic leaders, and professional leaders of the future. So give us your vision. I know you spent an hour talking to us about your view of free entrepreneurship and free market economy and how humanity has to be part of it. But when it comes down to education, I cannot stop but think that every single member of my panel is an educator. Am I right, guys? Let's give them a round of applause. These men and women here at your panel and the ones that were members of our panel last year are here to educate the future generations. They did not come here to promote themselves or their companies. They came here from the pure love for helping others and trying to enlighten us all with their experience and their knowledge. So with all of that being said, I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today. And I do want to, again, go back to Dr. Unai and ask him to please tell us, what do you think? Where should we go from here? What should we do today in order to be ready for tomorrow? Dr. Unai, for you.
First, I'd like to thank everybody for being here, and I really appreciate the invitation to be in Aiken today. So my answer is going to, as usual, probably irritate business faculty. One of the things that I think we're going to see, especially when it comes to business education, is the idea that what people are looking for, what employers are looking for, aren't necessarily the things business schools are teaching right now. It gets back to that tools and that toolbox I was talking about this morning. What employers are coming back to us and what they're telling us, and this is a nationwide phenomenon, is that these people are really well trained. They're just not great people. They don't write well. They don't critically think. They don't know how to interact with other human beings. And that's a problem for us if we're going to do business and if we understand that business is inherently about how we relate with other people. So we're going to see this motion within business ed, and we're already beginning to see it, where there's going to be more of a focus on EQ, your emotional quotient. And some business schools are already moving forward with this. Some of them are very further along on the cutting edge with de-emphasizing the normal business skill set and re-emphasizing essentially what we're going to be doing later this afternoon, practice networking. How do you dress professionally? How do you communicate well? And it's even more important now, given the millennial generation and your generation who've gotten so accustomed to communicating with each other with your thumbs, where sometimes it's easier for you to text the person sitting next to you than actually talking to them, when in fact business requires you to actually engage with other people. So we're going to see this movement within business schools of getting back to that humanizing of business ed. If I'm going to be a Debbie Downer on it, though, the problem I have with that is that the people who are being tasked to fix it are products of the broken system. It's hard to fix something if you don't know what the alternative looks like. So you're going to see a lot of people grasping at straws and a lot of people trying different things, which as an economist I think is great because it provides competition to see what works. But we're going to see, hopefully my vision of what ends up with higher ed is we get back to what higher ed is about. It's about a holistic education of you as an individual.
Far too often, and you've probably, especially the students, you've been taught this since the time you were 5, is this factory mentality of what education is, that you're a product, you're an output, that you go to school and you keep going until you're ready to enter the workforce and do whatever it is you were trained to do. The problem is that's not how real human beings learn. In order for us to flourish, we have to understand everything we do is interconnected, that what you learn in your gen eds is connected with how it is you function in business. And what we're gonna end up seeing, and we're already seeing it now, we're gonna see colleges close. We're gonna realize that, not every job needs a college education. There are a lot of high-paying jobs out there that don't require that. There are businesses out there who would rather hire the English major than the business major because they have better people skills. As we begin to realize the folly of our hyper-specialization, the more we're going to move back to how do we just educate better people? So that's where I see all of this coming into. Now, for all of you who are graduating, you're like, oh man, now what? Here's where the now what comes in. You have an ability as an alum to have a voice that maybe you didn't have when you were a student, which is you can talk to the university's development office, you can talk to the faculty, you can talk to the dean, to the chairs, and be able to say, I got a lot out of this place, I want to give back, and here's how I think we can do that. You can begin to be that change that you wish you had when you were here as a student when you become an alum. So my center, it's called the Koch Center, and the reason it's called the Koch Center is because our 3 donors were graduates of our School of Business who worked at Koch Industries and said, it would be great if our alma mater actually taught business ed more humanely, and they gave this big gift to start the center to do that. But it wasn't something the university came up with. It took 3 alums to pull their resources and say, my education would have been a whole lot better had this happened, and I learned this at work, which is why we're naming it Koch, because they work for Koch Industries. So it's about how can you give back? What can you do? And it doesn't even have to be money-wise. It can just be speaking with people as a professional. Here's what we're missing in the marketplace. Talk to the dean about his advisory board. Get involved. But that's where education's going. It's getting back to the roots of what higher ed's going to be about. And we're going to see this hyper-specialization of skills and training begin to take that back seat as people realize it's not really hitting pay dirt the way we thought it was, the way MOOCs aren't going to take over higher ed. There's always going to be a place for brick and mortar universities because there's something you get out of having these people here that you can't get watching them on your phone. So, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Yanai. What a powerful message. We are going to be faced with changes and disruptions, as Dr. Olafin said this morning, in higher education, just like everywhere else. But the key is to be ready, to be observant, to be able to clearly communicate, to be open-minded, and to again, face the future together with mentors, with our leaders. At this point, as you can tell, my amazing students, members of School of Business Student Advisory Board and actors, sweater vest in blue and white shirts, are here to present gifts to our keynote speaker and our speakers. So with that having said, I would like to ask, who did I have to, all right. Kyson Weathersby is going to give a gift to Chip Marvin and thank him for being here with us today at the panel and at the symposium. So, Kyson. Prestige Gladden is going to present a gift to Miss Stephanie Franklin. So, Stephanie, here's the Prestige, our School of Business student, who wants to thank you for being with us today. Emily Kinney is another School of Business student. She's going to present a gift to Mr. Mark Messick. Emily? Thank you, Emily. Brandon Hare just became member of our School of Business Advisory Board this morning. He is going to present LaDonna Armstrong with her gift. Thank you, LaDonna. Thank you, Brandon. Kyla Lively, she is the captain of our dance team at USCA, and she is very passionate about law. She is here to present Mr. Brian Katonic with his gift. Rebecca Hikesmore is here to present Caroline Rapid with her gift. Please. Courtney Strauss, she is the Vice President of the School of Business Student Advisory Board. She's here to present Susie Ferrara with her gift. Ms. Destiny Cox, please come forward and present our keynote speaker, Dr. Yanai, with the gift, please. I think I have everybody, do I not? Good. I'm sorry that our microphones did not work, but would you please be kind, give a round of applause to School of Business, Advisory Board, and Actress members. They have been amazing today. And again, another round of applause to our amazing panel. Thank you so much for coming today. Thank you for sharing your knowledge, your experience with us. Here at USCA and in School of Business, we greatly appreciate all of our stakeholders, our students, our faculty, our staff, our community, business and civic leaders. We always have our doors open to you. Please come, help us educate the next generations. Please share your experiences. And again, stick around. We are going to have a few minutes before our next session to get to know each other, please meet my students most importantly. But our next session is going to continue back in B&E building. We are going to have 4 simultaneous sessions with Ms. Stephanie Franklin, Susie Ferrara, and Caroline Rapid, then Mark Messick, and Ms. LaDonna. We are going back to B&E building. I hope you enjoyed your lunch. Thank you so much for coming today.
No, Sharon. Let me tell you, she's seen everything, double-checked us 3 times.
Unfortunately, I have a court case to get to, but
It's good to meet you.
good to meet you.
Thank you. Oh, yeah.
When-
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.